Hi, I'm Shanti, the artist behind Shanti Fine Arts. Today I'm going to share a review and comparison for two products that I have over here. I have my Faber Castel Albert Durer watercolor pencil, the 12-piece set, and the Pentalic watercolor pencils, the 12-piece set. I'm going to do a very side-by-side review and comparison. To start off, I wanted to share a couple of drawings that I've done, or rather paintings that I've done with each of these. This is a full-length painting and tutorial that I've done with the Faber Castel watercolor pencils, and I'll have the link pop up in the iCards and also posted in the video description below. This was a little test piece done with the Pentalic watercolor pencils, and that was a long time ago before even my YouTube days, so I don't have this video, but I have a full-length review and a video for a different drawing, a cow and a bird painting that I did with this Pentalic pencils, and I'll link that in the video description below. So if you want to check those out, you can go ahead and check them after you check. The second thing that we're going to do today is look at these two pencil boxes side by side. Both of them has 12 pieces of watercolor pencils, and both of them are tin sets. So they have more or less the same color. The major difference I see in the colors is that the Faber Castel has a white, and instead of the white, the Pentalic has a cream color, which they call, well, they don't have a name for it, just a cream color. So that is the first look of these pencils. Otherwise, they have pretty much very close colors if you look at it side by side. And both of these pencils, when you sharpen them, I use this comb sharpener with both of them. They sharpen pretty well, no breakage issues. So that's, I would say, very similar to both the pencils. And about those white pencil with Faber Castel, I personally do not find it tremendously useful because this is not an opaque white. It's not that if you paint it over a darker color, it would prominently show as white, something like ink or gouache. It's not like that. It just lightens the color a little bit. That's all it does. It's more like a transparent white thing that I'd like to mention at this point of time. The third thing I would like to share is the swatches of the colors in either of the color pencil box. So on the left we have Faber Castel, on the right we have Pentalic. And you see that when you swatch it out, the colors are more or less very similar, but trying and testing them, I obviously feel that the colors of the Faber Castel are a little bit brighter, and a good thing about both of them is that they're both very true to their colors. Like whatever the pencil casing is showing, the color is pretty much the same when you put it down on a piece of paper. But once again, I think the Pentalic are a tad less bright than the Faber Castel, and that is something I really like more about the Faber Castel. I like the brightness a lot better. And next on, you can see that I have dry swatches as well as wet swatches, and for both of the pencils. And if you see that in either case, the blendability or the solubility is pretty good and pretty on point. So something that is absolutely comparable in both of them. They're very equally blendable and soluble. Fourth thing, I'd like to do a little test with each of the pencils. On the left hand side I have Faber Castel, right I have Pentalic, and I am going to wet this color and try to lift it and erase it completely and see how well I do on that. So for the Faber Castel, you see that, like it should be in case of watercolor, it almost completely erases once you put water. So although there was quite a bit of pigment over here, there is hardly anything left. Now let's look at the Pentalic colors. Okay, it looks pretty similar too, but let's try a couple more times and see what we are left with. So I feel that on the Pentalic, there is a little bit more pigment left, although we started with a much brighter color on the Faber Castel side and a little less bright color on the Pentalic, but Pentalic left a little more residue. Now it could be a particular thing with this particular color, but this is one of the tests I like to do with watercolor pencils. Now the fifth test is blending two colors together. So I have this yellow. I would bring it down to my blue and see how well I can mix and create a green, because often you do not have all the colors that you want and you want to mix your own colors. So this is definitely totally doable for your Faber Castel. Now let's look at the Pentalic. I'm bringing down to the blue, and obviously with a very swift look at it, you can see that the pigments being a little less bright, the blendability is obviously much better with the Faber Castel. So 1 plus point with the Faber Castel once again. I have noted it down that Pentalic pencils, the 12-piece set, Amazon on the same day is $7.99. And Faber Castel is $18.05, so it's almost double the price for Faber Castel than the Pentalic. But you get what you pay for. So the Faber Castel pencils are completely write fast. So if you are a professional artist and you tend to sell your artwork, then it is something that you would very importantly consider, that your pencils need to be light fast, so that whatever you produce and sell, they are quality products. So Faber Castel obviously gets 1 point on quality. But if you're somebody who's just starting off and who has never used watercolor pencils and just want to try and test what this thing is and get a feel of it, then obviously you would go for the inexpensive set, and there Pentalic gets 1 point. Another drawback with Pentalic colors is that I have here the 12-piece set for each of them, but Pentalic only comes in 24 different colors and a few other metallic colors that I'm not very sure of how many. But let's go with the basic 24 colors that Pentalic comes with. However, Faber Castel has a wide array of 120 colors, and all of them have very good light fast ratings. So that's something more important. But again, if you look at all the colors in Faber Castel sheet, I'll put a link in the video description below so that you can check out all the colors. There are like 5 or 6 different grays, like warm grays to cool grays, and different kinds of yellows. I'm not sure if everybody needs all those kinds of colors, or almost as much variation of those colors, because you can also mix your own colors, which I always advise people to do. But for pencils, it is a little bit harder to mix, so people tend to like to have more colors. So that is something obviously an artist or artist preference, which one you want to go with, more colors or less colors, and what colors you need, and if you have those specific colors. So that is an important thing. Another important point to be mentioned at this point is that the Faber Castel pencils are all available open stock. So if you use one color very much more than the other colors and one pencil is gone, you can just buy that and replace that one pencil open stock. Or like I bought this 12-piece set, and obviously I need more colors. I just wanted to do a comparison first, and I always want to start with a very limited set to test the advantages and disadvantages and colors and all that. So I started with the basic limited set. Excuse me. But if I want to go ahead and expand, I don't have to go ahead and buy the 120-piece set. I can go and look up in the charts and buy the colors that I prefer to buy or prefer to have, and buy them open stock. So that is definitely an advantage for me. I always look for art products, colors, especially in whatever medium I'm working with, that they should be available open stock, and Faber Castel is. However, in case of Pentalic, if you run out of one color, you will have to go and buy the entire set. Also, important thing I'd like to mention at this point is that Faber Castel colors the single pieces on Amazon on the very same day that I noted the other prices is $2.85. So the single pieces are a tad expensive, but they'll run for a bit, so it's not too bad. So that's something that I wanted to mention. And Pentalic colors, like I showed you, and Faber Castel, both of them are very similar to what the casing says the colors are. Just Faber Castel, it seems a little bit more bright, which I very much look in watercolors, because once you put water into watercolor pencils, both of them tend to get a little bit brighter. However, for layering purposes, if the colors are brighter, then you can get nice washes and all that. So that's another thing to consider. So that's about it for now. Let's go and try a little demonstration.
I'm going to paint a couple of koi fishes in blue waters over here. You can see that I have divided the section of the page in two halves. On the right hand side, I'm going to work with the Pentalic watercolor pencils. On the left hand side, I'm going to work with the Faber Castel watercolor pencils. Now, at this point, I'd like to mention that I'm not going to do a great deal of detail work in these paintings, because my goal here is not to end up with a finished painting, but rather to demonstrate the difference between the two koi fishes painted on either side with the two different kind of watercolor pencils, and you can be able to see a side-by-side comparisons. I'm trying to use very similar colors in both the sets, from both the sets rather, and I'm trying to use the same amount of pigment putting in and same amount of pencil pressure, same amount of water in my brush. I'm trying to keep both of these as consistent as possible so that you can really determine by looking at the finished painting how different they are from each other, and that would help you judge which is the better one for you and which is not. So I started off with the Pentalic pencils first on the right hand side and put down the main pigments first all over it, and then wetted the whole area with water and blended it. And as far as blending is concerned, both of them are more or less the same, but I found, it's just my personal opinion, that on the left hand side when I'm working with the Faber Castels, the blending was a tiny bit much easier, in the sense it blended very beautifully, very seamlessly. And so if in any area I have used the pencil much loosely and has more scratch marks, the water on the brush tends to take care of it and blend it to a smooth background and not show the pencil marks. Whereas on the Pentalic side, if I have used I've been hasty and used scratch mark pencils, then some of it is showing even after I'm finishing off with the blending with watercolors. So blending wise, I think the Faber Castel pencils are a little bit better. Another thing you will notice at the very end, that the amount of pigment is in each pencil, because like I mentioned earlier, I'm using the same amount of pencil pressure and same amount of layers on both sides to make a good comparison. So the amount of pigment in each pencil lead is a little bit different. The Pentalic has a little bit less pigment pigmented than the Faber Castel ones. So when you put the layer of water, Faber Castels tend to give a much brighter color in the end as the end result than the Pentalic ones. So these are a couple of things I noted on the side-by-side comparisons that would probably help you little bit to make the judgment on which one is the right one for you.
I hope I was able to give you enough information to make your choice whether you want to go with the Pentalic pencils or the Faber Castel pencils. There are several other different brands of watercolor pencils as well, which range from anything in between, from the Pentalic watercolor pencils up to and even a little bit more than the Faber Castel pencil. So I'm not getting into all of those, but you have enough information now to make a wise decision which pencils you want to buy. If you have any additional questions, or if you feel I have missed out anything, let me know in the comment section below, and I would love to answer your questions to the best of my abilities. Hope you find the video useful. If you did, give me a like, and if you love to see more videos like this, do not forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so that you get notified every week I post a new video, which is typically twice every week on Wednesdays and Fridays in the evening EST hour.